Hi. It's me again. It's Jose. And it's time for another State of the Art podcast. Official PvP players. Alright. So, I'm just going to kind of get right into it. Today we have some new guests. Crazy couldn't make it from YSS, so you can see we have our familiar faces. We got Pepper JC, Builder Boo, Mr. Dolphin, Z-Unit, me. And then special guest today we have RedNeck from DTF, who's YSS, and Pablo from YSS. Go ahead and introduce yourselves. How long you've been playing Ark, all that good stuff.
All right, I guess I'll go first. I've been playing Ark since like 2015. I have about like 20k hours, and that's really about it.
Oof, I think I'm about the same when it comes to hours. Yeah, I've been playing since it came out, off and on, I guess. Yeah, it's been a while.
That's good. I mean, it's good to have people who have been playing at least for a long time, so we can have experienced players giving their input about the state of the game and the what changes we're hoping to be made in order to make it healthier. So, Z-Unit just goofed up. So, the way that we kind of get into these things is we kind of started off and give everybody Roundtable a current war follow-up, anything of note to go on. It's been 2 weeks since we did the last podcast, so we're kind of go over some of the FOBs that we've seen. This has actually been a pretty productive 2 weeks. There's been many FOBs. We've seen some teleport griefs on 53, 165. We see full FOBs on 490, 184, 180. And there was also a tree fob on 259. Few of those are still going on. 184 is currently ongoing. 180 is still ongoing. And I believe 165 and actually Island 1 is also still ongoing.
D1?
D1, so yeah. A lot of PvP action since that patch hit. It's been pretty nice. I mean, the nice thing about it is we're getting some PvP. The bad thing about it, which we'll go into right now, is kind of some of the weird stuff that's been happening. So the first thing is that I don't know if anybody else here has noticed, but aimbotting kind of starting to become rampant again. Anybody have anything to say about that? Any experiences?
I think it's been going on for a lot longer than just these patches. It's been going on since like TPG kind of started it on fucking SE, and then everyone kind of realized like no one's really getting banned right now.
There's a few tribes aimbotting that I know of. I'd say BLDX obviously had an aimbotter. Dog Teams has aimbotters pop up every now and again. YSS has aimbotters pretty much every server they go to. And TPG, I'll give them credit. It's pretty much only the Chinese. But what can you expect from CG, from Legacy? It's Kevin Lee and his bunch of goons. They're pretty much aimbot anytime you go to their server.
When's the last time we saw one of these guys get banned?
That's the thing.
Look,
they don't.
you can get banned faster for saying something in fucking global than you can for aimbotting. Like, the Human 102 kid is still running around spinning kids, and someone that called someone a name in global is now permabanned on Ark. So, that's just where enforcement's head is at. You said a naughty word, ban. You sit there and spin for fucking 6 hours. Say you're sitting there and spinning in global, like taunting people into telling you to go, blah, blah, blah in global. Like, enforcement's just fucking AFK.
Yeah, but I think that's something to do with reports. Like, because like when you say something, a lot of people fucking probably report you compared to the aimbotter. Like,
he hasn't been banned in a while.
Yeah, but I mean, back then, like, do you think it has something to do with like the amount?
No, it has something to do with how obvious it is. If somebody says something in global, it's right there, hard copy. They can go check. Boom, it's there. It's done. Black and white is But an aimbot, they have to look through videos. They have to see what happened. They have to go through. They have to actually do.
So
technically, they do.
Pretty obvious. Perfect example, Unit. CT.
Yeah.
He was never proven to actually. micro movements, quote unquote. You know what I mean? That was a developer looking at it at the time and being like, "This gives
Pepper." Instead of going all the way back to CT, Jackie got banned a couple months ago.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Too many TPG men.
Even better, what Jig is saying is Jackie got banned a couple months ago for aimbot. Legit, Jackie in our tribe got banned for aimbot.
Yeah,
but it wasn't a battle eye ban. It was developed, or no, he got picked up. What, Jigga, you explain. Actually, I forgot.
It was an aberration raid. TPG was raiding some fucking portal entrance. Jackie was there just killing literally everyone. So he gets banned for aimbotting. Then he gets unbanned by Valor. It was a mistake in the metric because Valor can apparently track how much people are hitting helmet, hitting this, hitting that, hitting that.
The fuck they can. What?
Like, all I know is
trying
to say they need proof doesn't mean jack shit.
No.
What I mean needs to get off their ass and go there and do something.
Well, that's what I was. That was my point. I think I jumped to the conclusion saying they don't need proof. My point was they don't have to do any work to ban somebody in global because it's right there in their face. But the other one, they have to look through proof to actually see it. So it takes long. So it is laziness at that point. Like, that's the point. That's why they'll just go in, ban the dude who dropped the end bomb, easy peasy. With aimbotting, they have to go through a couple of videos, maybe some reports, and then blah, 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 blah.
Right. I mean,
maybe takes an extra 10 minutes.
Kind of the process of what that, the enforcement would have to go to. But it seems like just recently that, they were doing a lot of enforcement action on Xbox, and it seems like that when that was going on, they were kind of tunnel visioning and they were like ignoring everything else. So while Xbox was getting dev wiped and everything else, they, PC is running rampant with some crazy shit.
They need to. I feel like they need to hire more enforcement.
No, it's not even about hiring more enforcement. No offense, but I'll be the guy. Some of their enforcement are just plain out fucking stupid. Captain Morgan's, no offense, I'm sure he's a great person.
No offense, you're dumb as fuck, brother.
That's how. But as far as the game is concerned, his game knowledge is so low, it's insane.
Do any of them have actual game knowledge, though?
But that's like how every dev has always been throughout ARC. Just a lot of them never really played.
That's how it's been for years, though. Like, remember the one time the one GM
he said it would be fixed.
Teleported to Muka and was just soaking bullets on stream?
Remember when Zane came into chat and said the only way you lose your character that he knows of is duping your character?
Yeah.
He was in global. Yeah. Told me that I was a dupe.
But you said, are there smart ones? Valor is incredibly smart. And he pays attention to in-game stuff. I think he's a great head of I think he's head of enforcement, and if he is, it's a fantastic decision. But some of these other enforcers, we'll call them, are not trained well enough, I guess we'll say.
No,
you saying hang
on. Let's kind of we can sit here and bash on enforcement all day long, but I held up my little graph. Let's be realistic here. I think Valor has a team of 6 guys who enforce all officials. So the reason why I made this graph, which is apparently flipped, you lied to me, Z-Unit, is because, I like to bring up the fact that when Snail Games did their Classic launch and their Conquest launch, there was a guy, his name is Dirac. That guy, on server, every single time there was a raid. Doesn't matter what it was. If a server was capped, he was sitting there looking. So, I mean, realistically, if Valor's got 5 guys and the Snail Games has a guy watching servers all the time, and the very small percentage of the servers he has to watch versus what Valor has to watch. Valor has to watch PS4, PvE, PvP, Xbox, PvE, PvE, Nintendo Switch, PvE, PvE, PC. He has to watch all of those servers. So,
that's great.
Would it be more realistic to say, okay, Valor, does your budget allow for hiring 1 extra guy to just wait for servers to be capped and go watch for them, to prevent the aimbotting type things, to prevent.
I don't even think that is going to ever be realistic, to be honest with you. To have a dev always on server, because at any given moment there could be 10 servers capped, and you already said they only have 6 people, and that's just on console. Like, that's just PC. There might be 10 servers capped one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then if Xbox and PS4 are being rated as well, this weekend there was 5 at some point, all right? Or something.
That's true.
But at the end of the day, people are still going to go around aimbotting, because right now Valor's whole thing is he's going to ban the aimbotter, but he's not going to do anything to the tribe. So all these Chinese people just go out, buy a new account, come back, spin you down on a level fucking 96 that they get from the note buff. You know, like aimbotters really don't give a shit because the accounts cost nothing. They just come back. They can aimbot and defend their tribe because their tribe's never going to get dev wiped. Every single YSS defense has had a fucking aimbotter and nothing has happened. I'm just like TPG's 41. They had 3 separate aimbotters every single fucking time. Like nothing happens to the tribe. So the tribe doesn't actually care that there's aimbotters. You know, like there's kids on the 490, they're like, no, he's just a good gamer. You know, like they don't care because they know they're not going to get dev wiped. Whereas after 51, when literally everyone got dev wiped for anything you could fucking think of, the game was like, no one did anything sus for months because everyone thought they were just going to get dev wiped again. But since then, nothing's fucking happened.
So I mean,
people are just
going
ham
People
again.
are tuning in late, and they're kind of seeing Builder Boo's, you know, reaction to saying to putting the blame game on people. But if you guys were here earlier, he did admit that there, like BLDX side, and
I already made
there
the
are
tribes that are
things.
aimbotting. BLDX is aimbotting.
Look, dude, BLDX's aimbotter is the same guy that's been here since fucking Legacy, Bobo. Like, do something about it. Like,
Right.
I mean, Dog Team
What do
has
you want?
aimbotters as well.
So not to white knight the devs, but hold on, I fucking.
He's gone. He's gone.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So I mean, realistically, like we can bash on enforcement, and Valor's doing his best, I think. But what if, I honestly, I don't know if this is the case. What if that heavy-handed approach that Valor liked to do at the start, what if that's not the higher-ups' vision anymore? Like, what if they're like, you know, just ban the aimbotters and be done with it? You know, how do we deal with that? You know, at some point, it's not in our hands to be able to control everybody else. Like, I can't sit here and tell, you know, RedNeck, don't invite Human 102 to your tribe because we're currently fighting each other right now. So like, where's the middle ground? What can we do as players to try and combat it? Because I mean, we all hate to be spun down. So
We can't do anything
all on
about
us.
it.
I don't think we can.
there's
really
nothing you can do
much.
because someone is always going to invite them. There's always someone's friend that is just going to invite him on the new account, or it's a Chinese-only raid, can't do anything about it. Like, players can't do jack shit about it, and no one wants to. They'll sit there and have a spinner
I
stand
think it
next to
really-
them and
I
say
think
they're
it
not
really goes
aimbotting.
back to
I wouldn't say
what
everyone.
Jose said
Like
earlier.
Luca kicked the aimbotter the other day, and then, you know, we're not going to talk about what happened after, but I mean, I think there are players that genuinely try to stop it when they can, but I mean, like you said, someone will always just go re-invite them, or they'll have a new account, they'll be there next week.
Let me get Dolphins.
Unless
and put
literally you could get
Yeah,
every
see-
single ARC player to agree not to invite an aimbotter, there's just never going to be a fix to it unless the devs just start really cracking down on everyone.
right. Okay.
In my opinion, I think it really comes down to being able to manage all these servers, like Jose said earlier. Like Valor has to manage so many servers, like PS4, Xbox, whatever, right? And you make the comparison to Classic, where Classic was only one guy. He only had to manage a certain number of servers, and that's why the Classic and Conquest modes were heavily enforced, because he only had that one guy, or the group of guys only had to manage a certain number of servers. So it really comes down to, in my opinion, to then not having enough people that can manage these servers and, you know, enforce the rules. And I'm not sure if it'd be nice if WoW can just like put more budget into that team, into that enforcement team, to be able to accomplish that.
But even
Those
Classic
that
was a
sell-
spin fest. Like, there was still people aimbotting all over
But the
Classic.
response time was a lot different than officials. Like Conquest, the
It
response
was not any different. I went to one defense, which was Barry Seal's
on
Rag.
defense.
Ramus was there aimbotting for fucking 12 hours straight. Like, you can't say that the response time was different when it wasn't. And he's the same kid that were like downloading rock golems from his inventory with the same little cheap hack that everyone uses.
In the beginning of Classic, it was fast response time. Then it stopped being fast because it died off. Like, you know, towards the end there, it started dying off. That defense, they didn't care anymore. Like, the devs are like not even there anymore. And with the devs being a small team of something, there's also like, we don't know exactly what the enforcement team actually is. I doubt they're actually just paying a group of individuals just to be the enforcement team. I think they have other jobs as well. So when you get big projects like, say, a DLC or other shit coming out, or like working on I don't know, the PS4 and console stuff, you're going to have scheduling issues. You're going to have time. They're only at work for a certain amount of time. When they're off of work, it's just like you and me. They're not going to be there. So you're going to have a specific amount of time that they're going to be there. And when they're there, are they going to spend time responding to tickets for this, that, and the other thing? Or are they going to look at the aimbotters? You know, they might go for a whole month. Like, you know, our push right now is every day I log in, I do this, and this, but I just fell behind on all the actual dev shit that I was supposed to do in the background, or all the other stuff I was supposed to do. So you get into a couple things a day, you deal with a couple of your whatever support tickets a day, and then, you know, you're done with your day. So, I mean, it could become like anybody else or like anything else. It's a job. So they have to kind of fill their day with whatever they can. And I'm sure that it's not just enforcement. We can't assume the enforcement team is just enforcement.
Valor just said they are.
Yep, my enforcers are dedicated.
Well, then you suck, Valor. What the fuck?
Okay, all right. Let me kind of. I kind of want to. I want to pose this hypothetical question towards enforcement if they are watching. I know Valor is here. I know he's watching, but you know, when I listed off all the things that Valor has to enforce, he has to enforce PVE. He has to enforce small tribes and all of this stuff. So I feel like that when it comes to aimbotting and duping and stuff like that. The reality is that those key cheating methods really only hurt PvP players, small tribes, and all that good stuff. So if there's like a priority system in the enforcement that we'll see if there's anything, like anybody says a keyword like active aimbotter on XYZ server, active mesher on XYZ server, is there something that your tool can flag that just can allow somebody to immediately respond, one of your enforcers? Because I feel like that the time spent between putting in a ticket and losing your shit to either the mesh or getting a fob pushed because of an aimbotter or anything like that, that time between putting in a ticket and response is key. Attacks and defenses can be
from what I remember, when they closed the Overseer Discord, the whole kind of reasoning was everyone has to wait their turn, essentially. So there is no, like, priority system. It's just, like, when you submit your ticket, it gets put in, like, a queue, and they just kind of answer them as they come in. So they, just kind of work their way down the list. Or at least that was my understanding from when they kind of closed down the Overseer Discord and said everyone has to kind of wait their turn, no more special treatment.
That seems kind of.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a customer service ticket system like any other. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I feel.
No,
like
but it used to be before that you could send Genie your ticket number, and he would come if there was a mesher or something, and then they would deal with it right on the spot. And then they stopped doing that, and you just had to wait your turn no matter what the hell was going on.
So now you got to sit there and get spun by the same person for.
From what I heard from Jet, they had a priority system, but you had to give them the ticket, and they can put it as priority. So if he wasn't directly involved with enforcement at the time or whatever was going on or whoever, you can send your ticket number to one of the devs, and they can hit priority on it, and then whoever was in charge can go and look at it. But it's not like you can just ASAP your ticket because everyone would do that. So yeah, at that point in time, you'd have to have like a pocket dev or something.
Yeah, I feel like that having like a designated, couple of people that if the budget allowed to just be like, oh, a service cap, let me go see what's going on. Oh, somebody just running Ascension? Okay, all right, I'm out of here. And then you see another server get capped. Oh, is this a war going on? Okay, let me see if everybody's playing fair. Like, and I'm going to bring it up because I think it's something that we need to talk to because a patch just came out today and it didn't get fixed. Let's talk about some motherfucking beer barrels.
Hell yeah, dude. I liked them yesterday.
From what we were told by developers, it's pretty much against the code of conduct because they fall under the same category as Cliff Plats did, which prevented you from building within your own base, except beer barrels are way more broken. However, no dev has showed up to say anything on 1.8.4 yet, and other servers in general. I think they're being used on other servers. I've just been on 1.8.4.
Yeah.
And so everyone's just using them, which I mean, I guess is fair play. We deal with it until it's patched. But from what we were told, actually by a developer, is that we were supposed to not use them. Like that was in the side when we asked if they were okay to be used. They said stay away from them.
Isn't that crazy that like literally everyone? It's very obvious that everyone's using it, and nobody's said anything about it.
Well, I mean,
I'm sure lots of people said something about it,
it was
but
pretty obvious when I brought a Foundation drop boat to 184.
Should just explain the beer barrels. You can go place your beer barrel next to an enemy's foundation, then they can't build within their foundation range because you now control that foundation range. Like you can't put a foundie next to your beer barrel, but they can't put anything within your beer barrel's range, basically. So you can put a beer barrel inside someone's main base. If you destroy a foundie, then they can't build any until they destroy the beer barrel. Basically what it is.
So basically it's like Cliff Plats.
But you can place them anywhere.
Nerfed, and you can place them anywhere, yeah. And
they're way worse.
Now, I know that they're like a real pain in the ass, right? And a game changer. But does that help with the spam meta? Like
it's kind of allowing us
it's
to
pretty
like
broken, to be honest.
It is broken,
Honestly,
but it's kind of allowing us to like actually PvP.
Yeah, but if it's two even sides,
fence supports are nerfed. Like no one was spamming gates and foundies back. People were just spamming 50,000 fucking fence supports because that shit still isn't.
That's what I mean. Like, at the same time, isn't it mainly the help of like, say you zerg a server real quick and you got crazy numbers? Those 10 people on there can't just keep replacing as fast.
Well, I mean, so the reason why beer barrels are so overpowered is specifically not because of spam meta, but because of choke points. So you place a beer barrel at a choke point, the enemy can't replace their turrets. The enemy can't place foundations, even though it's on their side of the map. So, for example, 184, beer barrels were placed outside the cave. They couldn't replace turrets inside the cave, even though it was capped. They couldn't place more foundations. They couldn't re-spam the cave. Currently on 184,
now, if you beer barrel back, though, can you do that?
I mean, that's currently what's going on right now. I mean, on the desert.
Yeah, you could place it inside of beer barrel. Like your beer barrel could be right next to their beer barrel. Doesn't matter.
The beer barrels only really work if you're the one pushing.
Yeah, so it's a push scenario.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, it works both ways. So like both sides are doing it. It's just that it really comes down to the numbers and the time you're at.
What if it was an item? Say they deleted that version, but like, what if they made an item that's expensive as fuck, but it does the same?
That's it. Like, just patch it, hotfix it. Don't need to figure it out.
I mean, I saw a message that Skittle said it was fixed, and then the hotfix came today, and then it wasn't fixed. They said there was like a problem with it or something.
So that's this is kind of like a top 5 thing, or I wouldn't really put it a top 5 thing, but like as a number 1 wish list, Wildcard really needs to get in the habit of being able to see a problem get reported and fix it within 8 hours. Like beer barrels are putting enemy foundation control. Jesse goes, oh shit, that's a problem. Let me go fix that. Code it up. Boom, done. Upload. Okay, we're fixed.
I mean, even that. Let's just pretend like it's not going to be an easy fix for them, which I'm sure it is. Disable beer barrels for fucking 24 hours and then sort it out, like, or something like that. You know what I mean?
As a beer barrel, let's just take away the fact of the beer barrel. I guess this function in the game, is it? What if there was some sort of a function like that though? Isn't that good for like raiding caves? And doesn't that kind of go into our first and second area?
I think that's a really stupid way to fix a problem.
Yeah, caves are going to be way better if they roll out the fixes that they're talking about.
Yeah, I'm thinking it seems to be like when you have momentum, that's when beer barrels are strongest.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. But even if you're kind of at a stalemate, like if you're on a choke point, like say for example Desert Plat, you can hide beer barrels.
So like we're touching this kind of topic. We went for like the end of the podcast, the ambition of rating. Like I think we should touch that. The idea that Unit is pointing out, I think is really good, kind of. But I think like I feel like we should touch it.
Yeah, but I mean, get rid of them for now. Yeah, disable the fuckers or whatever you got to do or whatever happens until it's fixed. I'm just thinking like. Maybe that's not such a bad thing, though. Like that kind of mechanic, maybe a nerf mechanic, but like that style mechanic, to help with the spam shit.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the takeaway from what I wanted to bring it up was that Wildcard needs to be quicker on getting emergency hotfixes out for things that are making the game kind of toxic. We want to make sure that Wildcard understands that PvP players, we're losing thousands of man hours of work because of a simple thing that can be fixed, within a few hours. I think if somebody sat down and typed in the code that said foundation control, no. Anyways, let's kind of move on.
Why are you talking about like wasted hours, dude? how about we get some sort of like communication when it comes to servers going down? Like, did it get DDoS? Did it crash? Is it coming up soon? Is it about to be up right now? Like, the fact that we sat and waited for 2 days waiting for a server to come up with literally no word until like an hour beforehand, which at any point in time, the server could have come up. The other people that are defending the server slot caps it. You can't do jack shit. 180, same thing. Every 15 minutes, server crashes, gets DDoS, whatever the fuck it is. 184, same thing. Constantly down, 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 up, down for 40 minutes, down again. Like, there's no communication whatsoever. So you're literally just sitting there waiting for the server to come back up to try and get a slot to continue what you're doing. Because when you don't get the slot, then the fucking 30 hours you just spent is now wasted. The DDoSing and fucking whatever the fuck's happening. See, we don't know if it's DDoS or if it's crashing because
touch on that.
We're not getting any information.
To touch on that and what Peppers just said in chat, like, and kind of what we said before, like enforcement being understaffed, Lil Panda is the only one that restarts servers, and he doesn't work weekends when raids are generally happening the most. So, like, literally, we were raiding a server and it was down, and it was actually being DDoSed in the end. He said you have to swap the server box, I think twice.
No, he put it on the new box. It came up 5 minutes later, went straight back down.
I just don't think they have any control, and a lot of them don't even have knowledge of what's happening. Like, I think Panda's the only one that really could tell you anything about the servers.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. He should communicate instead of
a server goes down on the weekend. It doesn't come up until Monday.
No, it comes up. He does restart them on the weekend, but like sometimes you have to wait till 2 a.m. my time, which is like 9 a.m.
You could be there for 12 hours before it gets restarted.
Yeah, and then sometimes it just stays down for 5 hours, and then bang, just comes up. Like it's not a set time. It'll just randomly decide to come the fuck back up, and then you either get in or you don't. Fucking garbage.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that Panda gets a notification if the server's going, complete ape shit, and I think at some points he'll just be like, "All right, fuckers, you can't play. Turn it off until Monday. Have fun."
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, you can't expect the guy to work his entire weekend sitting there restarting servers. They're going down every 2 minutes.
Thousands of servers, why is he the only fucking one doing it? Like, that's the stupidest thing I've seen yet. Thousands of servers across all the platforms, right? He's the only guy? Like, come on.
I mean, I'm not gonna say, I don't think any one of us can talk about numbers, though. We don't know what their budget is. We don't know what their income is. We don't know what any of that stuff is. We have no idea what their corporate structure is. So, like,
but are you telling me every other developer there is incapable of doing it?
No, but they also may not have any knowledge on it. So they would have to pull a dude who. So if my job is to, I don't know, marketing, say, they could probably pull me and be like, all right, watch servers here and there. But that's not my fucking job. So they just gave me a new task. So now I can negotiate for a higher position.
Moving a third baseman to first baseman or shortstop, Zuna. It's not like moving marketing to fucking computer science.
Anytime you add a little task to somebody's job, you're increasing the compensation technically that they can negotiate for. Anytime you move a small little thing into any kind of scenario. Maybe they can
way more intellectually than they are. I can guarantee.
I'm looking at it as like if I was in a business and I was hiring somebody or I was working with somebody. The more stuff you're giving that one person, and now you're taking that person away from sole focus on whatever the task at hand is over here, increasing their stress, increasing their thing, and also increase your chance of losing your employees to other companies because they're always chicken hawking. I mean, look at Jen. Not saying she got chicken hawked or anything like that, but I mean, didn't she just go to another dev company? You might increase that with the more stress you put on your employees.
Well, yeah, I mean, realistically, let's kind of think about this here for a second. Even if they were to hire somebody on or allocate resources, if the server's being DDoSed, what can they realistically do about it? Now, Panda and
what I want them to do and just say it's getting DDoSed, so then we don't sit there for fucking 6 hours waiting for them to be like, okay, I'm going to switch it on now, without saying they're switching it on now. It just fucking appears. Like, if they actually communicate,
fair, though. If they announce it, people will say it's unfair and stuff. So they don't.
How is it unfair if he announced
makes it more fair?
184 is about to come up. Everyone is ready for it to come up. Whereas you're sitting there for fucking 6 hours, it comes up at 3 hours and 32 minutes. Like you don't know that it's coming up.
To get up to get some food.
That's not fair.
He did
Yeah,
it
like-
a few times when a couple servers were coming out, but it's not all the time he does it, so it's kind of random sometimes.
Like
Yeah.
more actual communication
All right,
on
so
that.
you
front.
want him every time 180 goes down is to announce? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think when it's
Say,
down
oh, okay,
for an
it's not
extended
saying
I want
more
him.
like-
I want him to communicate as to why it is going down, instead of just like if it's a dog shit fucking server like 188, we couldn't move, couldn't do jack shit. We just didn't go back. If 180 is the exact fucking same, like the minute you walk to the plat, it crashes, rolls back 15 minutes, you can keep your fucking server. You know, like if it's DDoS, we just keep going because, you know, you're that fucking desperate. It doesn't matter. But if it's a trash server, then we're just not going to go back there. But we don't know. So we just sit there spending fucking 40 hours waiting for a server to come up, like 490, which was DDoS, but can't be proved, can't blah, blah, blah. And he didn't say it was nothing. Communication. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I think our best case scenario. All right, so these are kind of the factors in the game that we can't control. Obviously, they're a pain in the ass factor, has nothing to do with balance and things like that. And say it's a problem. And I think the best case scenario, the best way to go about this is every time we do these and every time anybody does anything, just keep on reporting, keep on being in their ear. Like that's the most we can do. There's not. With this scenario, they're not going to hire any more people. They're not going to rearrange their schedule. But the more you poke at them, you know, the more it becomes a priority in my opinion. So I think that's the best way to go about it. So every time we bring it up, I think it's a good thing. If it's becoming a problem, aimbotting for a while wasn't a problem. Now it's becoming a problem. Why? I don't know. Because they're not doing anything about it. You know, kick them in the ass verbally and do something about it. And then, you know, once they get back at it, hopefully, you know, fix itself out.
They say, like, and I really like the aimbotting is a huge problem right now. Like, I don't want to undersell it. It's a huge problem. Every server you go to, somebody's aimbotting, and I really don't accept the cop out. We're all busy with console because they just dev wiped and banned everybody. What more is there to it? I've been dev wiped and banned before. They said, hey, you dev wiped and banned, and then they don't fucking speak to you and tell you why. For the most part. Like, so the cop-outs, oh, we're still busy on consoles. I don't understand that. From personal experience, I literally don't understand that. Like, there's no reason why we shouldn't have enforcement beaming all these people that are cheating.
Yeah, I mean, banning them, like you said, banning them is one thing, but, you know, if they get re-invited on a new account or something like that, you know, the reality is I think we're at a point to where a heavy-handed action needs to be taken probably once. One heavy-handed action where somebody's server goes bye-bye, it ain't going to happen again for 6 months.
Yeah, it was like that back in the day.
Happening.
Like, you set an example, and bet you people will stop doing it. Wildcard used to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like the May
put an
1st
example.
death
Put some
wipes
example.
of
Yeah.
A-Team, you know, that was the example.
I have been the example multiple times.
Shit.
Yeah.
Somebody's made an example of people aren't going to do it again. People aren't going to risk their pixels to do it. But until that happens, people are going to just continuously test the limits. And since nothing's happening but bans on one guy's account, they're going to be like, okay, let's keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. And yeah, like us as players, we have to do our due diligence to make sure that we're kicking those people when we see them. But the reality is, if somebody else is inviting them because they want to win so bad, then, you know, somebody's going to get hurt real bad. Anyways, so that's that was the current war follow-up with kind of the things that's going on. What's up, Dolphin? Huh?
No. So we're gonna move to the next topic.
So I kind of wanted to move on to the next topic. Public beta 2, baby. We got the Snow Owl Tapejara Boogaloo. So the public beta 2, it's up there. We've got a couple changes going on. We see Snow Owl, the wind-up time has changed. There's now an immunity for everything. Every time you get frozen by Snow Owl, 10 seconds, you can't get frozen again. Super nice. I think everybody here can agree that's a nice change. I think the only thing that I'm pretty sure everybody here would agree on is that the dive bomb, that's not affected. You can just continuously do the dive bomb where you just jump down, jump down, jump down, jump down, and do the slow. I think if they put an immunity on that, we're sitting real good on Snow Owls. I think that's really good balance. Thoughts?
I agree.
The slow thing only really fucks people on foot. Like, in a dino fight, if someone's slowing, they're helping you in the end. Like, if someone slows in a giga fight, you win. It's
Well,
a
I think that's
90%
not-
damage reduction.
I think this. Well, I mean, yeah, but even then, that's still we're talking about the pocket Giga meta where somebody comes down. That's a 90-second slow for 3 seconds. You can get off, throw out a Giga, and run down a dude on a Giga.
True.
If you get slowed once, you're normally dead, though.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah. Let's see. I gotta remember what else they put on there. I know that we're gonna save the Tapejara thing for last. But what else was on the beta? Can somebody link it in chat?
The
please?
mechs.
The mechs.
The mech shield
the
from
shield.
60 seconds to 30 seconds.
Oh, that's right.
That shit should be like 10 seconds.
I think 30 seconds is still too long, in my opinion.
Yeah,
needs to
it should be
limited.
like half
You have
that
to account
even.
for lag. 30 seconds is not gonna be 30 seconds. It's gonna be 40 seconds, 50 seconds plus lag.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mech shield. So the mech shield is 30 seconds, and it doesn't get the debuff doesn't apply to you when they pull up the shield. That's a good change, but I feel like there's more they can do. I mean, if you go into a mech shield and then you walk out of a mech shield, you're now debuffed for 30 seconds. Yeah, that should probably be changed down to 10. I'm more under the impression that I think the mech shield should be, you know, only that area. If you're in it, you're getting 20% increased damage. If it's your mech, then you're getting 20% reduced damage. I think that the mech shield shouldn't have a debuff at all. I don't think that should be a thing. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that because it encourage people to spam their mech shields just to debuff someone.
Well, you won't be able to do that because unless your shield is naturally running out or they fly out of it willingly, it doesn't give them the debuff, so you can't just sit there and spam it anymore.
Right.
Spamming it will do nothing.
Yeah,
The-
wait.
the
Did we look at it wrong? Like,
30-second timer though is still.
that was
a little
definitely
too
an
much.
interesting. That was an
Go ahead,
interesting, like top. You know, what if they just took away the debuff and made the buff only within the bubble, like, and then left everything else?
I think that's better.
That's reasonable. I think that's reasonable.
'Cause
So
then you wouldn't have
that-
to. Then you wouldn't have to deal with like all the fucking element chugging and all that shit, or the timer and stuff. And it wouldn't be that broken. It's the debuff that really kills it. But it still gives you the protection you want from a mech, but it's not overpowered when it comes to fighting. If somebody's surrounding you with a couple of gigas, you're fucked either way. At least you have a little chance on the inside to maybe protect yourself. I don't know. That'd probably be an easier fix
I
as
don't
well
think the
if you're
debuff
adding
is
timers
necessary.
and shit like that.
Yeah,
Just
you
get rid of
don't, you don't
debuff.
really need that debuff. It's
I think it's-
feel like an unnecessary ability that they give to the mech for some reason. Like it's all about within the shield. Outside the shield, like I shouldn't be taking a debuff. Let's just encourage people just to use that for no reason.
Just more CC bullshit that shouldn't be in the game.
That's what I mean.
so
Like,
think-
wouldn't that be a better instead of adding like an element cost or a cooldown for the shield itself? Like, I just think like I don't know. Maybe that would be a better way to thinking about it long term. I don't know.
Yeah, I think removing the debuff entirely is fine. Now, what about the 50% damage, reduce, and do you think that should get lowered, or do you think it's good at 50%? I personally think it should be 20. I don't think that mech should be a necessity. I think they should be like a nice thing to have. If I'm taking 20% less damage sitting in a mech shield, I think that's pretty reasonable. If somebody comes into my mech shield and takes 50% extra damage, I think that's a shit show. That's too much. Thoughts?
But if they change it to like what you said, you have to be inside the actual bubble. Like, I can't see many fights actually taking place.
Until you have the crazy upper hand, and then you just
Yeah.
charge in, dude. Like, I feel like that's perfectly
Running
fine.
into that's
Around-
crazy, right?
I mean, think about like every
Even at-
fight
even at
end of a tech
20%.
bubble, you're sitting around like 3 dinos, and you have like 90 fucking people just sitting around it, ready to go in. Anyways, so might as well. I don't know. I think that would be the buff doesn't really matter at that point. Well, it does, but not that much.
So kind of round table, everybody's agreeing we should get rid of the debuff entirely and just keep it as a,
Yep.
if you're
Yeah,
inside
I
of it,
think
you take
it's
increased
not
damage.
necessary. It's not
Yeah.
necessary.
Useless CC.
There you go. Write down that. Hang on, I'm going to write it down on my whiteboard.
They changed plant Z weight as well in the beta. That should be down to 5 instead of 10, in my opinion. Shit's still way too heavy.
Isn't it 11 by mistake?
It's
Yeah,
11, yeah.
because apparently
It's
some
11.
fucking number's wrong or some bullshit.
Integers are hard, okay?
It is
Some
a lot
numbers
better than
wrong.
what
You
we
mean
have,
the
though.
number of weight is wrong? The exact
No,
number
like-
they're changing?
They wanted it to be 10, but then it became 11. Skittle said there's some random little number in there that changed it to 11.
Okay.
Yeah, like, welcome to Ark.
There's some random number somewhere in the code. We can't find it, but it makes it 11.
Is that why it's 21 now instead of 20?
Yep, probably.
Yeah, same thing.
All right, so I think that was kind of the last one, and then the big one.
True.
The big one.
Well, you have to talk about this no-out change, because we're dealing with the PvE players that are not really fighting us on that particular no-out.
We're not dealing with
Yeah,
any
dude,
PvE players.
What
we're
about
not
the
PvE
actual
players.
PvE players? Like,
okay, all
weren't
right,
they
right.
catching flack? Where do you bring that?
Yeah, when they put that thing up in public beta, the PvE players went absolutely ballistic. Because I guess they used the snow owl to protect
Tame dodos.
To tame.
dodos
They make it
and shit
easier
like
to
that.
tame for some reason.
So
I thought
they-
about this long and hard, dude.
How easy is it to tame stuff now as
So
it is?
okay, you get so right now you're changing their just like if they took away. So you got to think about it because they are a portion of their funding. They're a portion of the money that comes in. They are a portion, but snow owls, honestly, they affect PvP way more currently than taking away their abilities would affect PvE. The PvE is like us losing, the crowd cooldown of, adding a crowd cooldown of 10 instead of 5. We'd all be pissed off. We'd be raging. We'd be yelling at them like, what the fuck, but at the same time, it wouldn't really at the end of the day affect us. So them raging is probably like the few minority, because I read all those comments and there was a bunch of people saying it, but I mean, it was really like 20 people. So let's be real, like that's not even a big deal. But they're going to
They've
look at it
already
and say,
proven that they can divide the servers in they can do something on PvP and not on PvE.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Even if
have
they
caves that are
can't,
literally unbuildable. on
even if they
PvE.
can't though, we have to kind of state the case of why it's more important for them to balance official PvP than it is to care about whether they can tame whatever dino easier because they can reheal.
Well, I think the PvE players want balance between. I saw the message. Calm down. They want the PvE changes to be separate from PvP, and I think the middle ground there is, instead of putting an immunity on all things, just put an immunity of being frozen on enemy tamed dinos. Done. That's all you have to do. Is if there's a way to differentiate it to where it says, okay, I'm snow owl freezing a wild dodo, then it doesn't become immune to the freeze. That's it. If there's a way to set that flag, then do that.
If there's a way, if there isn't, then I still think that they have to look at it as they're balancing PvP, which is one of the most important things of balancing the game, because that's what attracts a lot of players in 2019. That's where all the views go. That's where everything. Nobody gives a damn about PvE except for the players that play. But I mean, if you can balance PvP, that's like the serious growth of a game. That's when you go from a game that's just stagnant to a growth game.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of staying on that snow owl topic, even after this round of nerfs, do we think that snow owls are okay? Chad is mentioning stuff about their stam consumption. Right now you can level a snow owl with 12k stam and fly across a rag map at Skyborder for literally an eternity. What do you guys think? Versus every other flying dino, you have to land for stam.
Yeah, of course. Lower their stam.
I think they also have way too much health.
I think that's just a byproduct of being mutated.
Sometimes people use it for
They're just
stalking.
fucking annoying. Do you guys even chase snow owls? I don't. Fuck that.
I think it's one of those fly creatures that have never been touched balance-wise, besides what we're talking about now.
They should literally cut the stamina on them.
Yeah, they need to cut the stamina, need to cut their HP, because I've seen sometimes people use it for soaking, which shouldn't be a thing with a snow owl.
Oh yeah, that should put Muka was saying last stream, put the 3x damage on flyers back on. I think they removed it for some reason.
I don't
put
think
it back
that's
on.
a good idea.
Okay, well
Nope,
then make
garbage.
it so snow owls don't take reduced damage to the head. Done.
No.
And then fix it so their stam isn't
It's
so
not
ridiculous.
about. It's about never being able to catch them. Once you catch them, they die easy. Sure.
And not even though, they just freeze and fuck around until they could fly away again for another 40 minutes.
The only way we can raid caves right now, or at least a lot of our caves, is through rocket running with PTs and etc. If you, I mean, tree bases can only be rated with Quetzals. If you start making 6x damage or whatever you're saying to flyers, it's going to make it even stronger to live in a cave or a tree.
True.
I think they should just cut like the base, like the scaling of the stats for owls for on HPN stam. I'll lower the base stats, lower the amount of stam they get per point.
Yeah, that's something they can really fix very
Dolphin
easily because they've done it with
did it perfectly.
with
They've
archers.
never made a change to the snow owl. At least not a relevant one. We'll just say that. Like PvP wise, I don't think they've ever been nerfed. At least not while I've been playing. And I think it's time they saw some TLC from the devs and they got the stamina on them.
They did see one change, I thought. I thought they went from a heal from the health to something else.
There's something to do with how much they healed.
Yeah, with the very beginning, you could heal a racer in like 2 seconds. So they changed.
Yeah.
They did change
the
it
percentage
once, but,
healing. All right, but yeah.
But that was a hot fix for something that was insanely broken, not a
right.
balance.
But I think that kind of falls back on that whole thing where when Wildcard QAs and tests things for balance, they do it with wild tame stats. So, like for example, the Velo, they go, okay, we have a 400 damage Velo at wild stat, we've tamed it, it's doing pretty okay. All right, I think that's good. They don't take into account what PvP players are gonna do. 6 months, 8 months down the road, Velos are now at 1k base and shredding everything that they touch. Snow Owls are now at 20k stam and flying across the map for all eternity. Managarmers, they got mutated. Yeah, they were really, really pain in the ass to deal with at the beginning. Now they're back at kind of almost at that point again. But I think that they need to really, when they're doing these balance changes, they need to take into effect PvP players are going to sit here and breed it endlessly until they're overpowered.
Do you think they should be able to heal while they have zero food?
No,
I don't think they should do that.
If they're starving, they can't encapsulate. That's it. Done.
It pretty much also made like Deadon's useless. Like nobody uses Deadon anymore because you can just keep healing when the snow has zero food. And if Snow's just starving to death, it has almost 0 HP, you just keep healing and healing endlessly without any punishment.
Yep. I think if they're starving, I don't think that they should be able to right-click. But, once again, we're kind of going back in those things. How hard is that going to be to code? Is that something that Wildcard can fix easily?
Yep.
And then let's okay, we're gonna bring up the big boy one. Tek Tapejaras. So they got smacked down really, really hard on the public beta. They got 30% reduced projectile damage and 75% reduced damage to structures.
Can I say this is a prime example of tribes crying so much that we end up with a product like this, which is like people
Who
crying.
comes up with these numbers though?
Oh, Tek Tappies are so OP. Let's gut them. Well, and then when they use them, they get shit on and can't even coordinate 50 Tek Tappies to break a single structure. But now we end up with a Tek. Oh, where's the number? How much does it?
75%.
1,600 projectile shots. 66 element or some shit to break a Tek shield? Are you?
No, it's like
that is
for a bubble.
You're looking at like the fucking revised bullshit that Jose was talking about.
Oh,
like with the stats that they've got on the beta, it's 117 element and 2,900 shots to break a fucking force field. If they bring in this 75% reduced,
it's actually absurd. It's absurd.
Right, so the real math on it is okay. So after this change, a Tek Tapejara projectile shot to a Tek thing does 88 damage. So that's 88 damage. I was going to say, okay, how do they select these numbers? I was going to close my eyes and then point at a number and say that's how they do it on the whiteboard. But I figured I have sunglasses on, so I can't do that. Anyways, so 88 damage right now after nerf. Right now, currently, it's doing 500 damage. So that's like, holy shit. Now, every element that you spend on a Tek Tapejara, you get 25 shots. So best case scenario after the nerf, you're gonna do less than a Tek turret's health in damage if you hit every single shot, which you're not.
I think what they're trying to do there is buff every single tech structure rather than just like maybe.
But they
just
don't need to be
turrets.
buffed.
But
The only thing that people are
the thing
bitching
is-
about.
Well, hold on. The
It's
thing
the
is,
turrets.
they are talking about every time they see a raid, they see 20.
They see the
10,
bad buildings
10
getting
plus.
raided.
Hold on, let me finish. They see
Bad
10,
bases
20
getting raided.
tech tappies. Let me finish. They see 10, 20 tech tappies rushing at a single target, and they see 20 tech tappies hitting one single target. That means that those 20 tech tappies hit at the same time, the same target. So if you only take 6 shots currently to destroy one single structure, whether it's a tech turret, a wall, I feel like they see that as too overpowered and kind of makes it kind of pointless to put any tech structure or anything. When it comes to walls, foundations, whatever. When it comes to tech structures, it's like, at least currently, in my opinion, it's just a little bit easy. But the 75%, I think we all can agree here, this a little bit too much. There needs to be a balanced number where they can balance
destroy
it
a
out.
single thing.
So hang on a second. Hang on. This is going to get into a salt match, and I can already tell. Chill. So there has to be a trade-off here. So when we're talking about the devs watching a stream where 50 Tek Tapejaras go in and drill a building and completely wipe it, I mean, they're not taking into account, okay, how was that building built? Is there something to, to take into effect? Like, if a dev sits there and watches a stream and goes, okay, so one tech ceiling and then one tech generator just got melted in 2 seconds, is that a bad thing? I mean, you can kind of go and test it yourself on any of the servers. They can take save states and just see one Tapejara against let's say a 184 tower. How long is that going to take? So when they come up with these numbers, are they really accounting for all variables? If somebody's just going to throw up a teleporter,
I mean, there's no way to test it fully because you'll never account for the lag that you're going to experience. Like, I mean, when you fly a bunch of tapes into a desert plat of current desert plots, it's going to be lagging the fuck, and the turrets do not target the tapes very well. I'm not saying it should be this insane, but you said it's 500 damage currently to a tech structure.
Yes.
It should maybe be 450. I don't know what the percent would be, but something like just a little bit of a drop. Because a tech tape is way more mobile than every other tech saddle. It needs to be a little bit of a trade so you get a little bit more mobility compared to every other tech saddle, but you lose a little bit of damage, which makes sense.
Sure, absolutely. But I think kind of, the tech generator getting drilled by 50 Tek Tapejaras is kind of half of the thing that they saw. I mean, we also see
saw multiple times
3K life that just get shredded in 6 shots currently. So you just buff tech turret health.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, so you guys got to look at it from trade-off. You keep saying trade-off. Oh, the trade-off needs to be this, and this. You guys want people out of caves. Step 1, make it harder for people to raid land bases, even if it's overpowered to where you can't raid. Sorry if you can't raid land bases as
But do
easy.
you know
as
how
start.
hard it is to raid a land base as is?
Well, I'm just saying in general, you want people out of caves. You got to give them a reason to come out of caves, make it easier for them to not get raided. Some of these kids, I get it. Bad bases, this, that, and the other thing. Sorry, not everybody builds the same base here and there. Got it. But the devs don't give a shit what kind of base you build. They're not going to look at, is this up to gang spec or is this up to this spec?
But we're
Like,
literally
that's not how
talking
it's
about balance.
No. I'm
Well,
not
I'm talking
saying
about
that they
balance too, and
shouldn't be
I'm-
nerfing the
I know.
tech tape.
What I mean is,
75% is way too
can't-
much.
Yeah, it's a lot to start, but we also want people to come out of caves. So they nerf down tech tapes, nerf down tires, nerf down anything that makes rushing kind of difficult, and then pull people out of caves with some hard fucking nerf, like maybe you can't build more than like 20 turrets in a cave or some crazy something like that. Pull them out, and then you start to rebuff tech tapes as people are established. What's wrong
But
with
it's
that?
Wildcard. They won't go back and rebuff things.
No,
They've never
you
done
just
it in the
stop playing
past.
the
They
game.
won't do it in the future. Like,
So our problem is we don't
They
want
need
you,
to-
and that's a
they need
valid
to
that's
nerf
a
it.
valid point.
slowly, not
Yeah, so
hard
I
nerf
agree.
it and then never go back and fix it again.
I think
Pablo's
that's
trying to-
what
a
Wildcard
valid
does.
point. Yeah. So your point.
Instead of 75%, take it to 25%.
Now,
Give tech
what
turrets
if-
20k health.
Hypothetically, what if they came all the way down to 75%? Don't just hypothetically. People, they did some serious buffing or nerfing in caves, so now nobody lives in caves, and then they rebuff it when it's all reestablished and all that shit. Like, that's just best case scenario. We know exactly what's going to happen because you're pretty right on that. When something's changed, it takes way longer to get it changed back or changed, distributed. But what's wrong with that scenario.
I want to get Pablo's word in real quick.
Like, I don't know if they take way too long to make these update changes. So if they actually release the patch that's 75%, like, what are we supposed to do? Just sit there for another 3 months for them to bump it down because it's too high?
You'll literally be sitting there. People are just going to spam tech shields everywhere.
Yeah, you just keep putting up tech shields.
You put tech shields everywhere you go, and then never be able. Even the people who live on the server that have 50k element are not going to be able to break all your tech shields. And if they do, it's going to take them a fucking full day.
So realistically, because I think Z-Unit is right, is that, you know, when we first started this thing, we really wanted to get people out of caves. We want to get them out of caves because the meta is shifting, land bases are getting wiped, people are getting wiped even in trees, you know. So if this nerf does come in, realistically, is that really going to get people out of caves? I don't think so.
No. First off, what's going to happen with caves, since everybody's going to try and live on a center, which every tribe, I think every center is probably taken anyway, because that cave's never going to get changed. And second,
that's such a pain in the ass anyway.
They're going to stay in their caves anyway. They're going to stay in their ice caves, even if the entrances get made bigger. People aren't going to come out.
Wouldn't best case scenario in that case be nerf the tech tapes and then give a time frame, and then there's no building structures?
It's so much harder for us to already raid the bases we're raiding.
Yeah, and then before you continue, then boom, you do just like you did for Volcano. At this date, all the fucking ice caves are going to be deleted, and there's going to be no builds. But now people aren't as freaking.
You're just saying they're going to remove. You want people to remove building in caves at all?
No, the ice caves specifically.
Ice caves. You mean center?
Yeah, because you're right. There's no way they're going to There's no way
never revamp that one.
So that's what I mean. Just make it buildless. You can't build there or whatever it is.
I don't think they'll do that either.
I mean, they have it in what the pyramid. Don't they have caves on Ragnarok? You can't build.
They did it in the puzzle cave.
In
so it's doable. We know it's doable. They know it's doable. It's something that's already been done.
Jackson didn't doesn't mean that fucking Freddy over there who spent pride and joy on his island cave is ever going to want to change.
The key is to get people out, and to get people out, you have to baby them in a way because they're just going to lose their minds. We have to also be kind of sensitive to population. We got to keep them somehow, keep everybody somehow. You just leave tech tapes, get out of the caves. Everybody gets raided, like you said, or whatever it is. Just because it's easier to raid or more fun to raid or whatever it is, doesn't mean there's going to specifically be more. I think it's going to be. I think at the end of the day, we're working with.
It literally comes down to is that if you build your base properly, it won't be as much of a problem. I've been standing at the same spot on 184 for 2 fucking days because they built their base right. They're not a GG base or whatever you said before. YSS built a decent base. They're fucking heavies everywhere. Like they're not 90% tech turrets because they copped out like every other fucking tribe does in Ark. Like, you know, and we're sitting here soaking. Like, people don't want their tech turret or their tech turret towers being destroyed, then don't build in 90% techs and put 100 or 1,000 ARB in your head. It's so simple.
Yeah, it's very simple, but why aren't people doing it?
Circle back to
they're fucking awful. They're lazy. They're unaware.
Because the majority of the game players can live in a cave instead of living outside because they don't want to get raided.
Let me get RedNeck in, and then I'm going to pose another question.
Jigga said 20k HP tech turrets, but isn't that also buffing caves? Because that just means it's going to be. Would that probably be more than one rocket then for a tech turret, wouldn't it?
It's already more than one rocket in 6x. In 6x, it's 2 rockets to blow a tech turret anyway.
So then how many rockets would that be? That's what I'm saying. It's going to make it a lot harder if it's going to take. They're 3,000 now, so it's going to be a lot of rockets then for one singular tech turret.
Well, I mean, I think we're kind of.
Well, you'd still break the heavy. Like,
so
the main thing is to break the heavies anyway.
These things that they're doing, you know, in kind of different respects here, because right now, you know, we're talking about this Tek Tapejaras nerf. Maybe instead of 20k, it should be 10k. You know, Tek Tapejaras really only affects land bases. So if Tek Tapejaras is nerfed, that just pushes people more towards caves. You know, can't get.
Doesn't only affect land. It's also trees. I mean, it's kind of land.
Yeah, trees. Okay.
Trees need to be.
Trees are getting buffed right now.
Trees right now, trees
Well, they
100% need a nerf. 100% need a 6 damage multiplier or something like that. Like they need.
That's what I was gonna say. At the same time of the tech tape thing, they need to make tree 6x, and then that would kind of like balance it out.
I think on podcast 1, anything above a certain level needs to be 6x on the map. Like
yeah, we talk about
at a certain height. I think it was.
Yeah, so I'm saying that needs to come out with the fact of tech tapes getting nerfed.
100%.
Otherwise, then it's still pretty balanced. Like I mean, it's not they're still getting buffed a bit, but if they plan to drop it later on, it just means that they basically have a limited time to get out of there. They're going to get fucked on.
Yeah. And I think that suggestion even came from a dev. I think that might have been Skittles or like Valor's or somebody's suggestion. And that was a very good one. Like anything above a certain point on the map, like obviously for the forest, once you get like up into that tree level, there's so many spots it really just needs to be 6.
That was actually Dolphin's idea.
Yeah, that was me.
Dolphin came up with that idea, and it was a good idea. So on the Tek Tapejara nerf thing, I mean, obviously it is the meta. That's what's being used, but and I think that everybody here can probably agree it's a little bit too strong. I think that a reasonable thing would be 25%, but the thing is that just because they would nerf Tek Tapejaras a huge amount to get people to stop using them in Zergs, that's not going to make other tech saddles usable. So I think if they wanted to balance the tech saddles, I think that they need to do other changes to the other saddles, like Rock Drake and Rex. What do you guys think? Like, what
could
if
add
they
like some sort of rider protection for it?
Rider protection or high range. What do you think about that?
No,
Well, that really comes down to the topic of like changing how we interact with turrets and like
we haven't seen what we're super malleable. We haven't seen what happens with a tech tape nerf yet, so we have to like see what happens with a nerf to the tech tapes. See if we automatically shift to something else, because that's what's going to happen. It's not like, all right, you're going to nerf this, you need to buff this right off the bat. You nerf something, you see what happens and move. But that's assuming that they're going to make changes to the effect. So they're going to do something.
Dude, you need to go onto the beta and tech tape down a force field real quick. Tell me how that fucking feels.
It probably feels like shit, but
go solo
like, Rex down, or like what I'm saying is there going to be workarounds for it?
I mean, yeah, you always be able to build like a racer protection for Rex, or just Rex to shield.
Well,
like,
there'd be workarounds that isn't as bad as
Rex will never be used against.
Well, we're always thinking, we're constantly thinking like, oh, tech tapes are going to be gone. Now we're never getting into a bubble. But is there going to be an actual workaround that we're going to use because we have? Because that's what always happens. Something gets nerfed, something gets broken, something gets buffed, whatever. There's always going to be a workaround that we figure out in like a certain amount of time, blah, blah, blah.
So, I mean, I don't necessarily agree that they need to push out the 75% thing to see how things
they can reduce that amount.
Yeah, that number needs to be lower. I think we're gonna agree that the number needs to be lower.
What number? So let's not talk about a percentage change. Let's just talk about a Tek Tapejara saddle. How much damage should it do to a tech structure?
Dude, I don't know fucking numbers.
Yeah, I think any of us actually know the numbers.
Right now, I don't know if
you shoot until it goes down. I don't know.
You motherfuckers don't even know math. All right, so let's say it does 300 damage, and then you buff tech turrets to 10k HP. All right, that's 33 shots to break a tech turret.
It's what,
that
6 now?
Reasonable?
You have to count that the majority of the time it's not gonna be one single attack. It's gonna be 10 tappies, 20 tech tappies hitting one single turret.
Yeah, but the percentage still stays the same. We're talking about percentages. So if you buff by it's say it's 3,000 now, and you times it by 3, then it doesn't really matter how many you're shooting at it, because that just means you're obviously playing the game smart. If you have more, than, what does it take? Right now, it goes down in a certain amount of time. What's a reasonable amount of time that you're shooting at a turret or a turret tower that it goes down? So the numbers of how many saddles are there, how many players on them is irrelevant. What's the time frame, and what should we make it 3 times as hard as it currently is to take it down? Because then that's an easy number to play with.
So my thought process on this whole deal is I came up with this kind of earlier today, and it was just in my head. What if for tech things, what if the amount of element that you spent to craft the said item, so for example, a tech turret is 3 element, is the exact amount that it takes to destroy it?
Nope. 80 element for a force field. Or 88, however the fuck much that is. Like, you can't go around
element
doing
for a
that
wall.
shit.
That'd be a whack.
Yeah,
That's
like
what it is now.
can't go around fucking changing that crap.
I was only thinking about tech turret and force field. So with that kind of math, I came up with a number of 150 damage per shot. That would make it so it takes 3 element to destroy a tech turret at that value, and it would take 75 element to destroy a force field.
Yeah, but you're doing the math at 3,000 HP for a tech turret, or
3,000.
I mean, I think everyone agrees it has to go up some. Like the tech turret, no matter what, needs to go up a little bit in HP because they're too low on HP. That's kind of like no matter even how much you nerf the tech tape, unless you're nerfing the tech tape to the floor, the tech turret's still gonna be weak.
Do they realistically have to nerf every structure, or can they not just give tech turrets more health?
Oh, I'm sure they can do that.
Like, but I'm talking about, do we even need a percentage decrease if they're just going to buff the tech turret health, which is why everyone's complaining that their tech turrets get stripped off the tower, they lose 80% of their turrets, then their tower gets broken. But if the tech turrets have 20k, 10k, whatever health each, then that's already, 50% whatever the fuck buff right there.
Yeah, so I mean, if they didn't change Tek Tapejaras at all and they made tech turrets 20,000 life, that would take 40 shots from a tech tappy to break a tech turret. So that's 1.5 element.
Or 4 shots from 10.
Right, or 4 shots from 10. Is that reasonable?
So it's gonna be a lot more than 4 shots.
Well, I'm just saying you got to say the ratios out loud so people can understand. Like if there's 10 people on Tapejaras, which is probably a pretty average number, it takes them 4 shots each landed to land with. So they spam a quick 10 seconds of shooting, and that turret's down. Just saying. So that's pretty reasonable for one turret. I mean, not really reasonable. It takes some testing, I guess. When you say like 40 shots for one, the less IQ of a person or player would be like, that's so many. You multiply that.
So everybody's here. I think are we all gravitating towards don't nerf the Tapejara saddle, just buff tech turret HP. Maybe even buff tech generator HP too. Maybe instead of having it 15,000, make it 50.
Well, if someone's getting near your gen, like, sort of doesn't matter how much HP it's going to have. The whole idea is that gen's the last thing they take.
I guess it depends. If you build like shit, I guess then that's true. Not true. But
gens are generally vault dropped anyway.
Gens aren't a big deal. I think it's the turrets that's the problem.
They see their turrets disappear. They don't want land bases.
What about teleporters?
TPs get destroyed pretty quick, but they're cheap and replace it. Put a new one down.
With beer though, you can't, right?
Beer, you can't what?
Replace it.
Same with beer barrels, you can't replace it.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
At the moment, so that's.
But that was exactly.
I thought that was a good thing. I thought that was a good idea to state again.
By the time they release public beta 2.
Yeah. So. Well, that's the importance. Like, there's a lot more than just you're claiming spam. Like. At that point, you put a beer barrel next to a TP, you blow that TP with tech tapes really fucking quick. They can't come back down.
Well, you already do that. Like, you rush in, you get their TP, and then you worry about the tower and turrets and all that crap.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this really comes down to like get more people.
If they're gonna buff the tech turret health, they should also change how many shards it shoots per shot, just so that people stop just being lazy.
1-to-1. Like heavies shoot 4-to-1. It definitely should cost like at least 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's not really the same though, because wasn't the heavy turret just 4 auto turrets in one essentially?
Yeah, that's why it shoots 4. But why does a tech turret only shoot 1 out of 5,000? Like it should be 2 at least.
Because Element used to be harder. Before Gotcha's Element wasn't as easy.
Element is not easy now, so they should be changing it for how easy Element is. Like, people don't even do boss fights on their fucking servers anymore. They just sit there and run an Element gacha. They fill their tech turrets with Element gacha. There's no effort required, so the turret should drain faster. Or at least, like, you know, for however much effort you're actually putting in to fill them.
Shouldn't they just all standardize it to like 1,200 or 1,500 total?
Well, right now, heavy turrets shoot 1,400 times. Tech turrets, when capped, shoot 5,000 times.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, make it make all of it 1,500 across the board, or like, you know, something even for the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you reduce the stack count, then that just means everybody has that much more element to play with. So I think maybe making it eat 2
Isn't
to
it
3
the-
shards per, good to go.
Yeah, isn't that what we're saying? Like, make it eat more shards per shot.
But should it do
Doesn't
more
matter how you're
damage?
doing it.
No, the damage stays the exact fucking same. Tek Turret's hurt enough as is.
Oh, and then yeah, I think we kind of beat that dead horse. I think the gist of it is that public beta 2 buff Tek Turret HP before you go slamming down the big hammer on Tapejaras.
Don't forget to post the link, Jose, so people can give their opinions
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Wildcard on
And
it.
if-
We
and
need
if
more
not-
people to go out there
Post that in
post
the
their
Twitch
feedback.
chat.
If they're not messing with Tek Turret, then just reduce it a little bit because that's a big nerf. But
Yeah,
I mean,
so remember, I know people think that they didn't do anything with public beta 1, they just pushed it out, but they did actually increase the numbers of the long neck and the fabricated sniper rifle. It just ended up not really doing much. But they
Well,
did
it broke
listen
a lot
to
of
the
bases
feedback
on
it.
console, so it did do something.
Yeah, well, console had a
Well,
big
there's
rollback,
that.
so I don't think anybody. Well, I mean, I'm sure some people lost their base, but you know,
a big rollback is the same as losing a base. I mean, that's a lot of man hours still. You know?
I mean that's true. I mean,
Either way,
like, the reality
good
is, I mean, we could all kind of say like hindsight is 2020. This is how they should have handled it. In my opinion, I think that when people said my base is getting shot by a fabricated sniper rifle and dying, I think they should have been like Xbox servers down. Wait till we fix this. But I mean, they provide a service, and it has to be up, or else they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose people playing.
I think
So,
console players just need to realize that it's going to
Skittle,
be
post a link.
shittier for them all the time because of
Skittle,
how
post a
difficult
link.
it is to actually implement changes. They need to stop crying so goddamn much. We cry a lot, but fucking hey, dude, talk about console.
well, I
Well,
mean,
to be fair, stuff over there is a lot worse. Like, enforcement only just got there. Duping was so fucking easy. Like, literally everyone could do it. You didn't have to DDoS. You didn't have to know anything special. You literally just had to change sign-ins, and you were duping. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think console is, they have to understand that it takes longer for them to do things on console. They can't just go into their game, change it, release it on Steam. Boom, done and done. They have control on Steam.
console's
Console
basically
platforms,
Lego.
they have so much shit to do. They have to deal with like lag times and queue times for like updates to actually push.
I mean, after
Plus,
the whole,
let's be real. If you, like, it's a console. You know what I mean? The reason you're playing is because you don't have the money for a PC. Let's be.
yeah, I mean,
You want to move to
and-
how Radiant works?
Yeah, well,
What?
yeah, okay, yeah, we talked about PvE players and PvP, so yeah, we're gonna kind of move into the last thing that I have on the agenda, and then we'll kind of break into a a free for all, not for fighting or anything like that. But I think that one thing that Wildcard can use some more information on, and they can get this by watching streams and just spectating raids, is kind of how raiding currently works. Let's assume perfect scenario. 35 players versus 35 players, no DDoS, nothing like that. It's just luck of the draw on who's getting the Titans. How does raiding a land base work currently right now? What is everybody's thought processes on what jobs people are doing, what dinos people are riding, what needs to happen in order to have a successful raid or a successful defense? And then I'm going to kind of do a roundtable here. Dolphin, we'll start off with you. What do you think?
I think this is a question that the dev's been asking for a while, like with like how raiding works. When it's a lot of like soaking. Everything this game's about, the majority of the soaking bullets or like blowing turrets with tech or whatever, and that is pretty much how this game is played. And I think that's one of the biggest problems I think this game is facing in general, because then it becomes really boring when all you do is just soak the majority of the time. Even offline raiding, you just soak, right? But when you're having a live raid against even numbers in the perfect scenario, it's just really all about soaking, and you're really reduced to a certain number of creatures. I've been saying this for a while. I think they need to figure out a way to allow you to fight within turret range. Like I remember back in Legacy, there was this bug where turrets would not shoot the driver, even though they were set to players only. They would not shoot the driver all the time. So you had situations in which you actually would ride a Rex or a Giga within turret range and fight racers. And you had these awesome dino fights, right? Where there was like, okay, someone is soaking, walk Gigas. And even though you're Gigas were getting shot, you would not being killed immediately by turrets. And I think Wildcard needs to look at that and be like, okay, how can we change the game, make it more fun? So it's not just about soaking and just static, just slowly pushing. Like, make it so it's like more skill based and more dynamic, in my opinion.
Okay. Z-Unit, what do you think a raid should be?
I think from what I've seen recently, a lot of it's risk. So it is soaking and blah, 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 but it's a lot of shotgun stuff. So most raids are like TP raids or main base raids, whatever it is, like they're going for. But if it's a TP raid, risk. So if they're being attacked, like right off the bang, so it's like kind of even numbers, there's going to be a lot more risk. They're going to push all these racers in really fast and send the tech taps at it and try to take stuff down really quickly. So it's going to be these shotgun things. They have a little momentum. They're going to go in hot. They might lose tapes or whatever, but if it's like, you have a ton of numbers, you're just going to kind of do the same thing, but be a little more, skill-based about it. I think it's kind of true that we saw a lot of like more dino fighting because you couldn't get shot off of things, but at the same time, like I think turrets should shoot players off dinos. Then you have that. Then that means there's a reason for a dino line, and then you got your DPS that are more vulnerable. There's a reason you're on DPS. Blah blah blah. So I don't know. I think the rating purposes right now isn't as long-term soaking as you think it is, though. Like you said, it's all soaking. It is, but it's soaking to the point where you see an opening where they're not pushing back as hard as they should be. So you run in hot with your racers or whatever it is, and then you come and hop behind them with all your tech tapes and things like that to kind of blow in and take it down. I mean, most of the time things go down, turret towers go down, not because they're completely soaked out, but because they push all the way up without any kind of counter resistance and then take it down in other means.
Builderable?
I don't know, dude. In a 35v35, I don't think there'll be any soaking. Like, when you have even numbers, there's no DDoS, there's no trash, there's none of that garbage shit that happens. Like, any base can get pushed, right? As is, without lag, without the DDoS, without the dumb bullshit. If you have a 35v35, you won't actually be soaking that much. Because you'll have, the people that are actually sniping. You'll have the people actually UD buffing. You'll have your 35 people that know exactly what they're doing. So, I don't know. That's a fucking fantasy world, and there's no use talking about it, in my opinion, because it's never going to happen. Like, you can't even get 40 people on a server and have 3 Titans without the server crashing. So,
reverse.
Ideal raid, there wouldn't be that much soaking because everything would be getting blown up everywhere. No one would be on their dinos because the guys that are supposed to keep them off the dinos would keep them off the dinos. Like, in a 35v35, we don't lose those.
Jigabo, I was going to ask you, doesn't that have something to do with, like, because a lot of times when people raid, and we know certain tribes do this, they just, like, teleport to an area where they have, like, thousands of dinosaurs, and they just render that.
Mushroom cave.
They do that over and over again. Right. And then they just... That's a way they manage to crash the server or whatever DDoS. But a lot of times, like we've seen, for example, that one raid on BLDX7, we had 140 people, right? Like we know we know the servers can handle 100 plus players. It just they don't do it because whatever reason, right? But we were talking about this last podcast, and what if there was a scenario in which they allow us to have allow us to push mutations without having to render so many dinosaurs. That way, you have more. You stop a lot of situations. Yeah, you have a lot more space to put more dinosaurs during a fight, and don't have to worry about this whole rendering issue.
I mean, that's kind of getting into a different thing, but I want to kind of keep it on. What is the perfect vision of raiding right now? How many? I guess I need to kind of unload the question a little bit. How many man hours should a tribe expect to spend to defend their base versus how many man hours should a tribe expect to attack a base? If a tribe spends, let's say, 4,000 collective man hours to raid a base, how many man hours should it take to raid that said base? And I got to take a phone call, so...
It depends who built it, what the base looks like, who's defending it. You can wipe a base in 12 hours, like 4
I have a different opinion on a lot. I mean, Dolphin said it's a soaking meta. I completely disagree. It's a push racers up in C4 meta. You
It's
don't
an
sit there and
opportunity.
soak.
That's kind of what I said
you don't
too.
sit
I
there
agree.
and soak at all, especially in offline. You never soak anything. It's all hatch frame Quetzals and hatch frame racers if you're offline.
I wouldn't say you don't soak at all. Like on
You
184,
don't
for
at all.
example,
I
you
mean,
guys are doing soaking a lot. It's just
that's an
but-
I mean that's an online raid. Okay, that's different.
we're talking offline.
If we swap to offline, it's you never soak anything. You're not. We go to like offline grease all the time. Never do we bring cakes or any of that bullshit.
No, you're doing some bull. That's what I
We'll
was.
fucking ninja into your base with a Quetzal and a racer or something like that. Like that's offline, but online as well. In the scenario we're in 180 right now, yeah, they're soaking, but generally, and on aberration, it's always going to be soaking as well because
You can't do anything on aberration.
If you're soaking, it's
Aberrations
because
are
you got
different.
pushed back a little bit, and now you have to sit back and soak.
No, not necessarily. We haven't been pushed back at all on 184.
No,
and we're
but
still
you can't
soaking.
shotgun it, right?
No,
like,
at
what I
this
mean-
point, I mean, like we're just stuck soaking.
They're not giving
It
you the
happens.
opportunity to do
Yeah.
something. Eventually,
That's
they
what
will.
That's why I was saying, like, you wait until they fail to actually pressure you back, and then
But
you don't
even
soak.
then, like
You
we're
soak until you find a small, like,
even while
guess-
soaking, we're blowing shit up. Our goal, always on every raid we go
Always,
to. There's
always.
no secret. Go in, soak, and do as much damage as you can while they're soaking the bullets. You know what I mean? Like that's
why you
why you
build
have
shield
those
races.
racer builds with like fucking
Yes.
shield over it, and that's why you go in with Tek Tapejaras to try and break tech turrets or any structures you can, or whatever the case. Like it's not really a soaking meta necessarily, in my opinion. I think that's
I think our minds are docking right now, Pepper.
and
I agree, 100%.
I don't know. There's no such thing as like that base took 4,000 hours. How long should it take to raid? Unless you look at the base, you see the base, how they built the base, what they have on their towers, you can't really say how long something should take to raid. If they built it well, it should be like a week-long raid. If it's crap and they don't defend, you should be able to raid it as fast as you can raid it. Like as quick as you can get the towers down, that's how quick their base should go. And that's the only thing you can say about it. If they don't defend, their base will get wiped in, 2-3 hours. 490 was basically a steamroll except for the fact it went down. We would have wiped that in like 6 hours total. That was a full base. That's the same for any other base that gets built and people aren't defending it properly.
It's an interesting say about week-long raids, actually. The only reason a week-long raid would happen, though, is if the attacking side had either a cave or the numbers to hold their fob the entire time and built a serious. So week-long raids.
like for 184, right? That's taking a week. Half of that week, the attackers were defending their fob.
Isn't that a real week though? It's a fake week because it was down for most of the
It was down, but like it wasn't down like 490 was down. 490 was straight up offline for like 48 hours.
Right, but that has a lot to do with the map, though. Like, you can't compare a raid on Extinction with a raid on Ragnarok. Like the way that the map is set up, the plateau is set up, it allows the defender to be able to defend that area a lot better compared to like where the bases are located on Extinction.
Well, when you
So it
build a
has
base,
lot
you
to do with it.
create your own. So.
Right, yeah. I mean, choke points, the terrain is all about when you're building a base. So, like, choke points are a really, really big part of why these bases take so long to build. So, for example, somebody has, a base on Crags Island and Jungle, or South, what is it, West 2? I don't play Island. You can expect to see that get steamrolled because there's no choke points. There's no way to keep their attacker at bay. And I think that's a big part of being able to raid is choke points are a big, big thing. And that's why these raids take so long is because 90% of the time when you're pushing at a choke point. You're not able to get past that little hump. And at least in my opinion, I feel
also
like
that's one of the things. That's also one thing I'm more about with Genesis. That does need to look at this. If you want us to build on Genesis, and we didn't really talk about much about Genesis on the last podcast, is that whatever they do, whatever map design they do with Genesis, they need to allow us, if they want us to build land bases, they need to have a landmass that allows us to build a decent defendable base or something like that in general, because otherwise we're just not gonna really build
You
on
can
Genesis.
build a base wherever the fuck you want. No one would have ever built a base in Underworld. And they would have called anybody that did it stupid until we did it. Like, it's just you can build the base where you want if you have a good plan, a good enough plan to defend it. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's plenty of good space spots across all the maps except for Island. You're pretty much fucked on that map. That map is terrible for base spots. That's why everybody just lives in caves. But center offers a lot of good spots. Ragnarok obviously offers a lot of good spots. Like I think, and yes, I would love to see more spots from Genesis, but I don't think that there is no good spots. You know what I mean?
RedNeck, Pablo.
I just don't think that there's enough. Like, sure, yeah, the underworld, like you take the entire thing, there's enough space. But are there any other spots in the game that give you that kind of like real estate to like do what you want? Like,
I mean, we don't use the whole underworld. We do have to block the whole thing off.
I understand that, but if you only try and live on a desert plot without a cave, that's gonna be hard. Of course,
like we still have Ice Cave on center. We still have Island Caves. We have SE caves, and we have an SE land base as well. But caves are gonna always be a thing. Obviously, we want them to be more raidable because it's stupid, kind of in a sense that they're like you live in a cave and you're almost just like protected automatically. But more land-based spots would be good, but I don't think that there is no land-based spots. I think people just don't want to be contested at all, so that's why they live in caves. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's human nature, though. That's protected.
Here's one of the things. Here's one of the things I have a problem with, like a land base versus a cave base. Like, for example, in a land base, there's like so many spots that you have to like foundation spams. There's a lot of spots you need to cover and protect. While land base, like I don't know if you guys, a lot of you have lived in a cave in land base. Like the lag compared to a cave base against land base is a huge difference. Like I barely get any lag on.
That's something I haven't thought of. Just very true.
Because here's the thing: like when you have a land-based server, you have to foundation spam pretty much every single spot on the map. Compared to a cave, you don't have to foundation spam everywhere because you don't like even if they fob whatever they want to fob, they're still not gonna be able to push into your cave as easily as compared to land.
Still lagged like fucking crazy when we rocket ran and wiped your guys' Pearl Cave the first time.
Right, but that's because the server is lockup. I'm talking about like an example to why people don't want to move out of the cave.
37, Jose. What's if the server's not capped? What's your ping?
If we have 20 people on, it's usually between 150 and 180. If somebody goes in the Squid Cave,
so it's not maxed. I mean, like our center when it's not maxed is like 60 ping for me or something, and it's an EU server. So, I mean, it's you're not if no one's rendering your shit, it's not gonna lag, is what I'm saying. Like you could have spam all over the map, but if it's not being rendered,
right? But isn't spam a problem in general though? Like people don't want to really commit that many spam, that much spam to.
They don't want to get grief. They don't want to have to respam.
Exactly.
They don't want
to
get grief.
Here's the thing.
They don't want to play PvP servers. They want to play PvE.
Right. Exactly. But here's the thing. There needs to be a way for Wildcard to, in general, actually fix the spam meta at some point, and where like a lot of us wants to get attacked, right? A lot of us wants to get fought, but we end up
disagree. I think
spamming pretty much.
Never want to get attacked,
right? But the problem is that a lot of people just spam everywhere, every single spot on the map, which makes it really difficult for an attacker to actually put a land base or put a land fob in order to attack you. But here's the thing, But because we're able to track everyone, it's not as easy to do so.
I
had this idea. Hold on, listen to me on this. I had this idea where like, then if they add an item that says, okay, you cannot put turrets, you cannot build anything within the range of this one item. Wouldn't that allow the attacker to, okay, we're gonna go attack this server, and the owner of this drive has like 10 or 20 of these items that prevent us to place the spam, and that makes it so the attacker has to destroy that one item in order to place their own spam instead. And that means that you're only limited to place certain amount of those items, which prevent people from placing their spam or turrets.
That sounds like the thing that they do in Rust, where you claim an area or something like that.
Exactly. Covered.
But but I think the problem is that, remember, we're 2 years into these servers. You know, if we're talking about this spam meta, it's because spam becomes more prevalent as time progresses. You know, as people are farming and they build their base is done, they've capped their turrets, they've capped their tech turrets. the next logical thing is to secure their server even further by spamming possible attacker spots. And I don't think it's realistic to say that people shouldn't be able to spam their server in order to protect it, because they're protecting their digital assets. And if somebody wants to attack a server bad enough, they're going to find a way to be able to break open that spot to fob it. I think that if they want to attack a server badly enough, they're going to find a way. They're going to find a weakness where they can clear something all at once and then build their fob. I don't think that
you can literally go PvP on a server. We've done it. Like, we just go PvP on a server, clearing spam for fun. Like, and then if we want to fob it, sure, it's open. If not, they respam it. We go back and clear it again. I mean, 184
a couple mechs can clear a fob spot in no fucking time.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you just slot cap and you just have beds, you spawn on the beds, you throw down mechs, you can clear a massive fob spot in like 5 minutes. Then you can have the people with the fob spawn. Like, we put a TP all the way down in the desert, then ran up onto a hill near 184's DP, and we just cleared a fuck ton of space, and then just put a fob there. And then clear more space, you put another fob. You just put a fob or like beds out of the spam, and then you move it closer to the base. Like, where you start doesn't matter. Eventually you're going to get to the base. If you have to start from further away, it's what the game is. Yeah, you can just clear the spam to where you need to get.
It kind of all goes back to that theory of, if somebody's spending thousands upon thousands of man hours to defend their assets, their servers, then they should have a realistic expectation to where an attacker just can't come on and be like, I want North Hill, that's mine, I'm attacking you right now, here we go, let's go. It should, that we spent the time to defend that server, then we should have that realistic expectation that we can respond to an immediate threat when it should arise.
Spam's just there to delay people till they DC.
Yeah. 100%. The advantage should always be in the favor of the defender, obviously. So spam's fine. I don't find a problem with spam. The lag is not so much of an issue with spam as it used to be. From what I noticed, it's mainly dinos that cause the spam.
It's that problem with
and that's where, we'll finish this topic up and go into the next topic of the fucking cave lag bullshit breeder cave garbage.
I mean,
haven't even talked about how much lag velos and manas and all that shit cause.
Look at the last race that I've been on, and I just show up because, hey, I'm here, can I log in? But like fuck, man, 2 guys on a server can hold that server down for fucking hours and hours and hours until they get back up and just constantly DC people until they. It's insane. Just because you have a cave full of velos and shit like that, you can just spam back and forth teleport.
Like let me try you. Hold on. Let me try you this idea of if they add with Genesis a crowd breeder where you don't need to have 300, 1,000 dinosaurs in order to get mutations, and they add, let's say, a tribe limit, which we used to have, but the reason why it got removed is because we didn't have crowd pods back then, so you need to have all your dinosaurs out there. Like, would you be okay with like a tribe limit where you don't have to put you won't be able to put that many belos, you won't be able to put that many dinosaurs to call slash?
No, because we just go around it.
No.
When you're separate, does Pablo and RedNeck have anything to say? Like, real quick. Apparently, we're not letting you speak. You guys have anything to say about any topic that was just said that you didn't get to speak about?
No, other than what Dalvin just said. It's just going to be like the beginning of new servers. Everyone has 18 ally tribes going with fucking kibble dinos and fucking everything.
Right, but there was a reason.
I'm sure everyone played at the beginning and remembers that.
Putting limits on things has never worked in the past. Like,
we will always go around the limit they put in.
Right, but
and if they put a rule, they won't enforce it in time.
We always have limits in certain stuff, though. Like, we have the limit to platform saddles. Doesn't work all the time, but there is a limit, right? Like, if this game needs to have limits. I understand it's an open world survival game, but it needs to have limits to stop people from abusing the systems that are already in place. Because if you are allowed to place an unlimited number of dinos, you're just gonna teleport to that area where those dinos are and lag the server. There needs to be the game. You can already have unlimited number of dinos with crowd pods. There needs to be a limit to stop you from abusing
the systems that are currently in place. You're complaining about Belos. The reason why people are putting Belos is because there's no limit on how many dinos you can put.
There's already a rule against it, and people do it anyway. Why don't you just say they enforce it next time? Like, how about they enforce the rule and instead of come up with
I almost
out of the blue.
I almost think that it's more of a fucking problem. This whole teleport into a cave, teleport out of a cave, and just we just live there, and that's where all our breeders are. Like, I almost think that's more of a problem at times in certain scenarios than aimbotting. Than fucking aimbotting is because that's something that's hard against, and that's if caught banned. Right now, there's no rules against that. There's no possible rules against that.
Well, there's a rule that you cannot intentionally like.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
But
there actually is a rule against it.
Coming up,
it's impossible to enforce when you can say my gear's in the cave.
Yeah.
Then that
There's
little
no way
clown,
for them to enforce
those
that.
2 clowns that were running against like 60 people against, those 2 clowns can't just say, oh, I brought this one dino out. Now I got to go get another dino. Now I got this dino. Now I got to go get another one. I got like that's not.
Yeah, but let me tell you,
that's a huge
coming
issue.
up with a random idea of a possibility or some fallacy that they're going to add into Genesis is honestly just a waste of time.
Well, we talk about stuff like aimbotting and DDoS as if we have an ability to actually change that. We don't. That's external factors in the game that we have no ability to change. What we have is we have a group of people that could come up with ideas on how to change something. So that's, in my opinion, more accessible than talking about DDoS and aimbot. Talking about what can we do to stop that bullshit from happening, because everybody does it, and you're right, they do it. They just claim they don't.
I mean, there's nothing to do. I mean,
but what is there to do?
Don't TP
people have to want to be able to play the game and no lag. Like if their server's sitting at 255 because they have a million dinos on cryo, like
well, you said it 100%. You said it. It's a choice. So how do we take that choice from them if that's a choice? Their choice is to, nobody plays on the server, uncryo all our Velonosaurs, put the TPs there so that one breeder that hangs out there can defend our goddamn server every time it gets fucked until we get there.
Is it always a choice, though?
But on a server where they only live in a cave, like, it's going to happen as well. You guys have only attacked TPs, right? In the last few days?
That's what. No, we're going.
They did do dog teams base.
Aside from that, but that wasn't I remember I was talking to you in your stream when it was happening on 53. BLDX kept TPing back and forth. Like,
yeah, that one.
They only live in a cave, though. Like, they're not going to keep their defense shit necessarily. Again,
that's understandable.
It's impossible to prove.
No, you're right. It's impossible to prove because all they can say is, and they were coming back and be like, we're just TPing back. Like, okay, so that one person needed 17. Okay, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you can't prove it. How do we prevent that from happening? That's bull. I can do that right now. I could literally go create a cave anywhere as a 3-man group, hang out on that server as Ass Team 6, and freaking anytime somebody shows up or we get an alert on our whatever the hell, we just back and forth, just TP constantly.
You have to remove that choice from players, because even if you import a rule, you can't do that. People are gonna do it anyway, and you're not gonna be able to enforce that all the time.
And it is a responsibility to try and come up with different things, because that is a problem. There's nobody that's not going to do that.
The only solutions you guys are saying is remove breeding.
My solution is, I want to talk about a solution, maybe make that a docket for a future podcast, but I think there needs to be some talk about that.
From people, but to sit there and remove 0/0s or whatever, like,
no, I don't have any.
You're gonna create a whole new breeding. Like, breeding is fine the way it is.
I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying that's a problem.
Dolphin
needs to be talked about.
I have my own opinion.
When it comes to
I'm pretty sure everyone has
the 0/0s in cryopods thing, isn't a bad idea. Right? It would solve a lot of the whole, I just TP to a mushroom cave even though I have a main base on DP. Like, you wouldn't have 50,000 dinos in your mushroom cave because they'd be in cryopods. So it wouldn't lag when you TP'd there. So, like, that would fix lag. But when it comes to the whole, people have their main base in a cave, they also have every other dino they use in the same cave, no matter what, they're going to end up TPing there. Like on 53, they main the church cave, so they have to TP there. They have no choice in the matter. There's nothing they can do to get gear anywhere else. Like, sure, they could keep gear at the OB, and that's their responsibility to keep it. But you can't enforce them. No one's allowed to spawn in the cave. You're not allowed to be in the cave during a defense. Yeah. When it's that's not a choice for them.
So to be fair, the only suggestion that I would have to fix that is get them out of the cave. That's the only suggestion, and that's what we're trying to do. I get that.
Well,
But so until
that's not
then,
really a
you
solution.
can't raid.
You're always gonna have a cave filled with dinos.
You're always gonna have a cave.
Even if
full
you
of
have a
dinos.
base.
When
That's
you
a
have a
lag spike.
base,
Then
when you have a
anybody can-
base, that is your choice. You have the choice to defend your base or to go sit there and keep spawning into your cave. Like, that's when it becomes intentionally trying to fuck with the server. If everything you need is in your main base, which it should be, to defend your base, you TPing the mushroom cave is you making that choice that you want it to be laggy. You want it to go to that next
What
step.
if your main base is mushroom though?
It shouldn't.
Well, then why do they have a base?
The point of the cave
But
changes
you
that
can't-
we're trying to make
can't
is
say
the
that,
main-
though.
Main base is
Who-
not in
Who is you to
caves.
say that, like, oh, they can't teleport there, they can't keep anything in their mushroom cave?
What's the point of having the mushroom cave, right?
That's the point. Like, this is a problem that has. This is probably one of the harder. So every other situation that we've brought up has a semi-fixable solution that can be fixed. Either it's very highly technical or it's an easy swap out of some sort of coding for the devs. This is one scenario, just like the ice cave. That's like one of those like, man, fuck, how do we fix this? Because everyone knows it's broken. How do you fix it? That's like the age-old tale. Like, how do you stop people from abusing lag spikes? Impossible. I mean, Arc has been fixing it for a long time. There's been things in the past that cause servers to go down. There's been things in the past that auto-generate lag if you just spam them in game. So they've been trying to reduce that. So we're sitting at a point where all those avenues have been washed up, and now we're sitting on the last final one, which is super hard to control and to enforce because they can just control it as their base.
Decken just had a decent suggestion, at least for me. If you enable mating on a dinosaur, it becomes like in a frozen state where its animations stop and it just it just sits there in its regular state. Now I don't know if it's the animations causing lag or if it's just the actual.
They say that all the like moving tails and shit, that's just client side. So like them moving, they say doesn't cause lag. I think it's just the fact that they exist is what causes the lag. So unless like what he's talking about makes them not exist.
If that was true, then TPing into a base would be client side, not lag everybody out and drop the server. If that was 100% true. There is something that causes that lag that isn't client side. So what they're saying is horseshit.
I think with Genesis, they should give us a crowd breeder that solves that problem. Like, it actually benefits PvP players even more because PvP players don't have a time limit, so they don't like we PvP players get like the best dinos. We can get mutations all the time because we don't have to worry about this stuff. And if they had a crowd breeder where we don't have to have like 1,000 dinosaurs in one spot, like it actually benefits us and benefits the entire the PvP community that can't get as many good mutations on their dinos like we do. So if they give us something that prevents us from, that encourages for not having so many dinos in one area, I think that just benefits the entire our community in general, in my opinion.
Because let's be real, we talk about like trying to raid caves, it sucks and stuff, but like, how frustrating is it if you get on a server, you have 60 plus players on server, the only thing stopping you is these two dudes teleporting back and forth. Otherwise, your TP or whatever it doesn't matter what you're targeting. Like that's what you're targeting. We talk about caves being a problem. Like if you can't even raid a TP because of this, like that's an issue.
Dude, we went to 188. We couldn't even move.
I know, and that's a huge issue. Crash. You take away the game from the game. You take away the playing from the game, and all you're doing is that shit. Like those 53 or whatever it was, those TPs should have been cleared. There should have been no issue with that whatsoever. But because of that one situation, that one fact, there's non-playable. We're not even. I mean, going back to it is even worthless because one guy's online, that base isn't going down. Period.
I don't know.
And
there's no way
that's worse than having an aimbot. In my opinion, that's worse than having an aimbotter because one aimbotter isn't going to stop a 60, 70 man push.
Yeah. Aimbotters don't really stop anything. They just
one dude lagging out the server can stop everything in its tracks.
Yeah, I agree. But there's no way to like stop that or fix that unless the cryo breeder thing that Dolphin's saying is a thing. But even if they brought the cryo breeder, everyone's breeders are just going to lose their fucking mind. Like, yeah, they get to have more 0-0s, but it takes out any interaction they have with anything to do with the breeding. They stick it in there, it does it all manually. Not manually, like automatically. Like, breeders are not going to be happy about that. Like, what do? They log in to feed their dinos, breed their dinos, wait for the things to hatch, log out again. That's what they do. And if that's just going to be in a cryo fridge that does it all by itself,
they need
what
to
the fuck
encourage,
are they going to do?
They need to encourage another way, a way to not make breeding boring, but also like being able to fix the rendering issues.
And this is going to be a long-term issue.
Yeah,
This isn't something we're ever going to solve.
You know, the breeding and the lag, I feel like that's probably something to talk about when they decide that they want to wipe servers, because
it's important to bring up, in my opinion, but it's not important
absolutely.
to go deep into for hours, because that's just like the ice cave. It's way too in depth, and need.
Besides like 0-0s and shit, right? They need to look at velos and they need to look at manas. Just rendering those two dinos alone, fuck servers.
So like I've said, I reported the velo lag. I reported the velo lag back in November when Extinction released. I don't think they have a reliable fix to do anything about it.
Have they tried? Have they said they've tried?
As far as I know, they've tried twice, and both times failed.
Pretty sure everyone.
But what is it about them compared to like a Rex that's causing the retarded amount of lag that comes?
No idea. Someone was saying like the velo turret mode. Maybe they get encountered as 2 dinos instead of 1, but you know manas are just as bad. You render 150 manas, it's so fucking bad.
Isn't it because turret mode acts like a turret, so it acts like kind of like
constantly
turret.
Scanning.
Yeah, but even just 0-0 manas velos causing, they're not on turret mode. They're just sitting there.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if they're in turret mode or not. If they had the ability, they're still
still
scanning.
Might be scanning whilst not in turret mode, is what we're saying.
Yeah,
I think that they should change the scan to only happen.
In my opinion, we don't need turret mode.
Remove turret mode. Bang.
I agree with Pepper. We don't need turret mode. Like, why is there in the first place? It's just a lazy way of like
allow turret mode if ridden, not fucking while not ridden.
It wouldn't be turret mode if.
Wouldn't be turret.
Whatever, dude. Like the fucking little Gatling gun and shit's fine, but not the fucking.
I mean, but the thing is, you always go back to just aggressive and overweight it, right? Like, isn't that what we always did before turret mode?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you do that with Reapers as is. Actually, do Reapers have turret mode? No, Udis.
I don't know.
No.
Yeah, but if you remove
Udis
turret
have turret
mode,
mode.
theoretically, that would make the 0-0 issue. I mean, you know, like I said, this is all kind of like theoretical theory crafting about how their code is. Like, if you remove turret mode, then that means they're not scanning when they're passive.
But if I enable turret mode on 50 UDs, well, that doesn't cause the same lag.
Yeah, UDs do not cause like any lag. I have a ton of UDs, and they don't seem to lag the server at all.
I don't understand what the difference would be.
Yeah, it's like velos, manas, tapes are fucking really bad as well. Like when you render so many tapes at once, especially when their wings are flapping. But I don't know. Certain dinos like that like need to be looked at because they cause so much fucking lag. And then you know people obviously spam them absolutely everywhere to protect their base, quote unquote. But shit's just AIDS.
All you need
But
to
those
protect
guys
your
also
base
like
is 1 Omega
you
bank.
need to breed them. Like you gotta have good stats for velos, tapes, and stuff because they're like the most important dinos in Arc, basically.
Yeah, you have to have them, but like that's yet another choice. Like you know, velos lag, so they're not on 37. You know what I mean? Like they don't have them on their main server because they know they're fucking dog shit.
I mean, I tried to move them to my app, and my app literally I couldn't play on it anymore.
You
literally
put them in the
battle
artifact. Where the artifact thing is, that's where Jose
that's where
puts
they
all the
were.
velos.
That's where they were, and it kept.
Well, then you don't render them. You can only put how many, Jose? How many do you? 100 and something.
170 each.
Yeah, any more than that, and then you get fucked. Apparently.
Okay, well, I have like 300 sun. That's probably why then.
Yeah, Jose said that too. Like when he put too many, the server was fucked. So you have to move those types of dinos out of your main servers. Like us just rendering 600 gigas lags the server, right? But that's 600 gigas. It's just how it is. But 150 velos will fucking 255 a server. That's why you have to take them.
Yeah, for some reason, secrets from the self-proclaimed velo god. For some reason, inside the artifact room, if you have between 170 and 180, the battle eye disconnect does not happen at all. But you have to stay under 180, because if you go over 180, the second you go to 181, gone. Battle eye disconnects.
That was the problem we had. We were like, oh, okay, let's get them off, and then literally couldn't play on the server anymore.
Yeah. I know, that's something they need to look into. The velos, the manas, and like the lag that they cause.
Yeah, so kind of wrap-up time. I kind of want to, just kind of recap to the viewers and the devs of kind of what we talked about. We have our two guests, RedNeck and Pablo. They're both from Why So Serious. RedNeck is from DTF. That's 184. They're currently under attack. 180 is still under attack. 490 was wiped. D1 is still in contention. There's still a fob on there. The kind of summarize this thing, enforcement, Valor, we know you're there. We know you're working. But, man, help us out a little bit, please. It's kind of what boiled down there on our enforcement discussion. Public beta, the Tek Tapejara nerf, way too heavy-handed. Maybe buff the tech turrets to 20k HP. Call it good for a bit. But if they're insistent on keeping the 75%, then they need to give us something else that we can raid bases with. Because right now tech taps are the only thing that we can realistically use. Snow Owl is good, except for the slow. Make it so you're immune to the slow when they dive bomb down. Mech Shield, just remove the debuff entirely. And that's kind of it. And then I'll just do kind of the roundtable. I like doing the closing statements last time, last podcast, so I want to do it again. So we'll do a circle of closing statements, starting with Dolphin, and then we'll end the stream.
Yeah, just want to thank everyone for watching. Please go post your feedback regarding the beta patch. I think it's
someone post that link.
Yeah, someone can post that link. That'd be sweet. Also,
Skate will post it again.
I know I talked about this last one. I really want to emphasize Wildcard to please think about the changes you're trying to aim for Genesis. I want to see more dynamics. I want to see more interesting ways of playing. I want you to actually allow players to fight within turrets, allow players to have more choices, because I personally feel I don't have that many choices, even though I want to make Subtle Dinos viable, and I want to see things. I want to see new things. I want to have fun this game. I'm playing this game for so many years, and I want to see changes to the meta. I want to see case gated fix. I want the enforcement to be in place, because it's really hard to have fun sometimes when you've been playing this game for a long time, when things just don't change as quickly as they should.
Z-Unit, join Simi. You fuck.
Yeah.
Don't have any closing statements or anything like that? You don't have anything you want to say?
Yeah. So I saw a decent amount of shit talking and stuff like that go on in chat. At the end of the day, the point of these podcasts are for you guys to get your little fucking rocks off on toxicity and talking shit to whoever's here, whoever's doing what, wars, things like that. We can get into little arguments, but being a cunt about it is fucking not what we want. It's not the point. You could swear, you can do whatever, you can talk shit, but at the end of the day, the point of this is to try to find a balance. All the shit that you guys talk about every single goddamn day, all the stuff you complain about, bitch at Wildcard about, all those little voices that people come out and anytime somebody posts something, they're like, no, Arc sucks, this is why. The point of this podcast in general is to try to change things. Whether we can change it or not, we're trying our best on our side. We're consistently talking. All these guys in here who specifically probably you wouldn't think would get along, decently get along in a channel together, typing on a weekly basis to try to figure out stuff to talk about. So if we can do that, then everybody else needs to chill the hell out and actually come up with constructive things to say. And if you have something that, oh, wait, this idea is good, get in touch with somebody, because we're always looking for things that maybe we don't see it, maybe we want to see it, whatever the hell it is, but get it out there. Stop being super fucking toxic during this and try to treat this as a constructive platform to use to communicate to the devs.
Builder Boo?
Same stuff as always, boys. Cheers for watching. Obviously, go post on that thread. Try and get them to not nerf the literal fuck out of everything we use. And I just hope Wildcard sort of steps it up in the enforcement side. Maybe Panda can get some assistance, because that's the one thing that annoys me the most about this game, is the servers going down. But besides that, everyone just have fun, I guess. And RedNeck, you can still join GG if you give me owner. Don't forget that.
Alright, dude. I'm gonna
RedNeck closing statements.
Yeah, I really disagree. I really hope the enforcement kind of steps up after this, and maybe they'll try to like dedicate someone to try to stay on top of raids as best as they can to a reasonable matter, obviously.
Pepper JC.
Honestly, I'm tired of getting aimbotted on every fucking server I go. So I just wish that enforcement will come and honestly dev wipe everybody. They deserve it. I've been dev wiped enough to say that myself. And yeah, no, I hope you guys enjoyed podcast 3. Pretty good. And hopefully you guys join us on the next one. We honestly, a lot of credit needs to be given to Jose. He actually sits there and spends his week coming up with topics and stuff like that, trying to keep stuff organized and stuff like that. And he keeps us from yelling at each other. So you guys should appreciate that as well. And yeah, thanks for hanging out with us.
Pablo, YSS leader.
Yeah, I mean, again, the enforcement thing, we shouldn't have to sit there for whether it's you're getting aimbotted or even these stupid beer barrels, right? Yeah. How long has it been? A week? Like, it should be 8 hours. They realize something's broken and, you know, needs to be fixed. Other than that, like, I don't know. Just the enforcement needs to step up.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, you know, and like I said, and I had the graph earlier, you know, Valor does have a lot of servers to enforce, but I think it's everybody's wish here that they would prioritize servers that are actively being meshed, that are being raided, where they're reporting active aimbot or active aim. Because, I mean, holy shit, realistically, like to ban an aimbotter, and it takes, this is me guessing, it'll take 15 minutes. You log into the server, you find the guy, you look at him, you see him spinning, you ban him. But, I mean, that's just me kind of spitballing. That's probably what it is. But the reality is it's probably not. But, you know, at the very least, so long as Valor understands that, hey, I think that we could do better and acknowledges that to us, I think we would be a lot happier. And if worse comes to worse, like I said, I always joke to him about fear of God. You know, if the fear of God happens, somebody gets dev wiped, they do like a May 1st, just somebody's done. It's not going to happen. It'll be clean for probably about 6 months. And if that's what it takes for us to have a healthy game, then you know what? That's a sacrifice that I think everybody here should be willing to make. But the reality is not a lot of people are. So from there, you know, I absolutely appreciate everybody here coming on. Pablo, RedNeck, thank you for being on as guests. I hope to have you guys back on as a guest, you know, sometime in the future on the next podcast. We just got to see how kind of the game, you know, kind of evolves as we keep doing this. See if Wildcard continues to do it, and make changes for the betterment of the game. And you know, one thing that I think that we all wish is don't send everybody to Arc 2. Wait, you know, make sure we're still here playing Arc 1 until Arc 2 comes out. Come on. But yeah, as always, thank you everybody for coming on. And I understand chat. You guys are going crazy all the time. We do read your stuff. People are responding to you, but you know, if it's a topic that you think is worth discussing in this kind of manner, feel free to DM me in Discord. You know, you guys know where to find me. And like I said, Wildcard, thank you so much for being here. And from there, let's get back to Joint Sim, baby.
Have a good night, boys.
Good night, everyone.